Hello and welcome to Baseball Barbacast, the only baseball podcast in the world that believes the World Baseball Classic should be played on Mars. I'm Jake Mintz. That's Jordan Shusterman. And could you imagine the offensive environment?
We are officially starting our 2026 WBC content on this episode of Baseball Barbacast. Sean Spradling, I hope you are listening. In fact, I know you are listening.
I know you are.
We are going to talk on this episode about Aaron Judge committing to Team USA and build our respective dream teams that will certainly only be like 40% accurate because that's how this usually works. Of course, we'll talk a little bit about Jackie Robinson Day that happened on Tuesday. We have a very special guest, Kyle Smeallie, the organizer behind our beloved Lee Gans out in San Francisco. He comes on to tell us the origin story of this fantastic group as Jung-Hoo Lee continues to rake. And then at the end of the show, we will talk about the very weird home run leaderboard. Jake will give me a little bit of trivia and a couple other news nuggets before we say goodbye. But Jake, before we get to Aaron Judge, the captain of Team USA, I know you were at the ballpark yesterday on Jackie Robinson Day. I know you wrote a very good column at Yahoo that I appreciated and a lot of people did. Any just kind of grand ruminations or thoughts having been at a ballpark on the day, seeing all the 42s and just any big picture things you were thinking about?
A couple. I mean, I have 1,000 things I could say, but I as you could imagine, I got a lot of negative feedback and a lot of positive feedback for what I wrote. For those of you who didn't read it, my general argument is that I think that the energy of Jackie Robinson Day is a little bit too celebratory. I had a really good conversation yesterday with our colleague Russ Dorsey, and where we kind of landed on that is like, for white people, like for us, like when we leave the yard, I think it should be more thought-provoking and it should be like more humbling, and the day should have a little bit more heft. And he was basically saying for him, he doesn't necessarily feel that way. And Jackie Robinson Day is not as much of a notch on his calendar because it like that's every day in his mind. And I thought that was just a very interesting perspective. But I think that's where I kind of finish with it, is that there are a lot of people in America who I think are like changing minds and opening people's perspectives is a good thing, obviously. And I think Jackie Robinson is a million other things, but he is a vehicle and a vessel through which to change people's minds. Because like I think about how many people in the country hate DEI and love Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
Right. And you can teach these lessons through the life of this person in, I think, a really meaningful way. And I don't think MLB is necessarily maxing out that ability. That's just like the TLDR of where I'm at.
I think that's a fair takeaway. And I know what you wrote about. Yeah, it's what is this day supposed to mean? It's not that we don't want to celebrate Jackie Robinson. I mean, it's not that this is not someone that his memory should be lifted up in a positive sense in many respects, of course.
And I'm not saying the day should be a memorial, right? Like it shouldn't be necessarily somber in tone. In the way that like, okay, so like the Rickwood game last year, that carried a very heavy somber tone. Now, part of that was because of Willie Mays passing away right beforehand. You had the Reggie Jackson thing on television that was really powerful. Jackie Robinson Day, in my mind, would fall somewhere in between what Jackie Robinson Day is now and what the Rickwood game felt like.
Yep.
How do we get to that point? Specifically, that's a difficult question. I think is worth really thinking and chewing on and working towards. But yeah, that's all I got.
I think for me, it's the same kind of conversation we had initially when we talked about how absurd it is to distill him to just like this baseball player who accomplished this thing on the field as if it was like him reaching 100 home runs, right? If we're going to talk about him as if what he did and his heroics, his courage is just something that resulted in him playing baseball well, like that's not, that shouldn't be the takeaway. And I think that is the basic thing, is he should mean so much more and should continue to mean so much more than just being like, wow, what a player, and he happened to be the first black one. Like that's not the lesson.
Well, there's also I think that the color barrier is often described like a mountain where it was permanent and existed and is just a thing that is, you know, like I don't know how this got here. Like it was dynamic, it was active, it was malleable. Like it was this thing that was upheld by people, right? It was a force. It wasn't necessarily like an inanimate object, you know?
And that's a good point. Where I thought you were going with that analogy is the notion that Jackie Robinson got to the top of the mountain and then, all right, all was well for black players in baseball for the rest of time. It's like, not really. In fact, that is still, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can measure. This is a tough thing to talk about objectively. Of course, we're not in position to describe these things intimately. However, as we know throughout history, whether it's Henry Aaron, whether it's, Reggie Jackson, as we talked about, whether it's Ricky Henderson, whether it's Barry Bonds, whether it's black players today at a time where there are fewer of them than there were 30, 40 years ago. Like this is an ongoing thing. And so that's another part, which in some respects, MLB has made a lot of progress towards acknowledging and towards, putting efforts towards it, as you wrote about with stuff like the Players Alliance. Like it's not that those things aren't being acknowledged, but that's the other part of it to me. It's just like acting like Jackie Robinson was the end of something is also kind of disingenuous. Right. So anyway, but those are my big picture things. But I appreciate what you wrote, and I think a lot of people did.
That's all. That's Jackie Robinson Day. Go read his autobiography. I Never Had It Made. Highly recommend. In Jackie's life, in his own words, from America to America.
Indeed, in a very, very strange transition, but a fair one, as it is time for a little Team USA chat. Our opener today is Aaron Judge, the captain of Team USA.
My first thought, duh.
Yeah.
Duh. He is the best American player on the planet, with all due respect to Bobby Witt Jr. And it is a good thing that he is going to be in the WBC. Important to remember that he did not play last time, predominantly because it was right after he signed the contract with the Yankees to come back in 2022 into 2023. And so it was understandable that year one back in pinstripes, he wanted to focus on that. Like, I don't think he deserves any criticism for that decision. It's good that he is the one leading the charge. People will want to play with him. The more players at an elite level we have in the WBC, the better. Judge will help that, not just because he's Aaron Judge, but by drawing those other players in.
Yes. I love that right now, if you go on the usabaseball.com website, which, by the way, is an incredible resource. If you want to just go through and look at, they have one of the most organized and thorough kind of logs of history for their teams at all levels, whether it's 16U, 18U, college national team. There's all kinds of fun stuff on there. But I love that if you go to their website right now and you go to professional team roster and you click on roster, there's just Aaron Judge listed. And presumably that will be filled out. And we also have the coaching staff. We know Mark DeRosa as the manager. We know Skip Schumacher, the bench coach, Andy Pettit, Matt Holliday, a bunch of other familiar faces will be on this coaching staff. But Aaron Judge is the first official commit, and it is a big deal because he didn't do it last time, regardless of the circumstances. Yeah. And so what we're going to do today is our first attempt to fill out a Team USA Dream Team, and we're going to compare. Now, this is with the acknowledgement of a few things. This is far too optimistic. The reality of this tournament, as good as it is, and by the way, I think Aaron Judge committing reminds us of how seriously players, for the most part, are going to take this. And in Team USA in particular, the redemption is important here. The storyline of losing to Japan and wanting to come back and prove that you are the superior baseball nation will absolutely be motivating players. Now, how many pitchers is that going to result in? We will see. At the same time, we do know that, listen, the team was pretty damn good last time, and they still came up short. We know it's not like Team Japan's going to be any worse this time around. So you're going to have to put yourself in position to compete. Not to mention, of course, the other baseball powerhouses around the globe. But we're going to keep our focus on Team USA today. And the way we are going to do this is we both made our teams. The way World Baseball
Separately.
Classic rosters work separately is it's a 30-man roster, and you need at least 14 pitchers, and you need at least 2 catchers. We're going to do 3 catchers. There were 3 catchers on the team last time, and we're going to do 15 pitchers and 15 position players at our discretion. However,
I did 16. I have 16 position players.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Maybe I will too. Okay, you just say okay. That's all right. That's not a big difference. But the point is, the main rules were we did choose 6 starters, and I guess in your case, 8 relievers, 3 catchers. The rest we will figure out. Jake, before we give our teams, why don't you remind folks who was on the team in 2023? Because on the one hand, it's like, well, that wasn't that long ago. I'm sure I remember. And then you go back and look, and you're like, wait, what? So
there are certainly some wait whats. 3 catchers. Will Smith. Sure. JT Realmuto. Heck yeah. Kyle Higashioka was the 3rd catcher.
I'm saying, though, that age is better than some of these other picks. Higgy's only gotten better since he was on Team USA.
That is true. First base. Pete Alonso. Paul Goldschmidt. Middle infield. Bobby Witt Jr. essentially just as a pinch runner. This was before he was good.
Well,
he came up in 22 and he was he came up in 22 and he was flawed and exhilarating, and it was clear he was going to be something.
Yes.
He was there to run the bases. That is why he was on this team.
Correct.
Trey Turner, who hit 75 home runs this tournament. Jeff McNeil, Tim Anderson.
Hey.
Third base, Nolan Arenado. Outfield, Mookie Betts, Kyle Schwarber, Cedric Mullins, Michael Nelson Trout, Kyle Tucker. Starting pitchers, 6 of them. 1 lefty only, which is kind of surprising, which is Kyle Freeland of the Rockies, Brady Singer, Adam Wainwright, Lance Lynn, Merrill Kelly, Miles Michaelis. This is the most Cardinals-coded rotation ever. It has basically 3 Cardinals in my heart in Lynn, Michaelis, and Waino.
Yeah.
Singer and Kelly might as well have been on the Cardinals.
I mean, this really was. And by the way, that turned out to be a bad strategy.
Bingo. 9 relievers. Jason Adam, Daniel Bard, who that was one of the sadder moments when he could at the strike. David Bednar, who's currently AAA. Kendall Graveman, who is currently injured. Adam Ottavino, who I think is in the free agent stage of his yo-yoing between free agency and Yankees mop-up guy.
And being on SNY. He just like bounces between the Northeast teams and being on television. It's great.
It's great.
And
Ryan,
being in June Lee's YouTube videos also.
Which was great. Ryan Presley, Chicago Cub. Brooks Raley and Aaron Loop were the lefties.
What's Brooks Raley up to?
Devin Williams.
He's a free agent. All right, sure. All right. So anyway, again, that makes it feel like it was way longer ago.
I disagree. I actually disagree. The relievers are so volatile year to year that it's almost like a different thing. I think there's an argument to put 90% of these players on this year's team. I think the only players where if I had them on this year's team, you could punch me in the face would be Tim Anderson, Jeff McNeil, Higashioka, and like maybe Goldschmidt, just because of how many good first basemen there are.
Sure.
Everybody else, if you put on the team, I'd shake your hand and tell you you're a smart boy.
Sure. Noted. I appreciate that. Just in case I do put them on the team, you can call me a smart boy. All right. So how do you want to go in order here? Do you want to go position by position? Okay.
Yep. Position by position.
All right.
So let's just do this first. We each have 3 catchers. And my 3 catchers are all American.
I hope. Oh, by the way, this is another caveat we should say. I don't know if any of the players that we're including, which most of whom have not played for Team USA, have some sort of like other country that they actually would prefer to play for. I'm counting on these are USA born and will be playing for Team USA. Just saying.
I like the idea that, like Pete Crow Armstrong has a Panamanian grandfather. Like, I don't know, right?
Yeah. Chris Bubich, we just talked about him. I don't think he's going to make this team, but, if Croatia was competing, I feel like he would be playing for them.
Great.
Anyway, continue. All right. Catchers.
My 3 catchers are all American, but that's not the only thing they have in common.
Oh, okay.
They are all switch hitters. As my three catchers are Cal Raleigh,
Yep,
Adley Rutschman, and
yep.
Patrick Bailey of the San Francisco Giants.
Okay. We are right on the same level. I also have Cal Raleigh and Adley Rutschman. We got to have some Mariners and Orioles representation. How cool is that, by the way? I mean, we're just so used to it that our squads have these amazing switch hitting catchers. However, I considered Patrick Bailey as the framing connoisseur, the defensive wizard. However, I went in another direction. Austin Hedges, welcome to the team, Austin Hedges. Now, again, there is some risk here.
Put him on the staff, dude.
I know, but I'm going to have him as the third catcher. I'm going to trust, especially with Cal as much of an Iron Man as he is. Like, I'm going to trust that he's gonna make it through this tournament. There is some risk in any situation where a tournament ends up with Austin Hedges hitting. That would obviously be bad. However, I think what he would bring to everything else about this team is perfect. So I'm having Austin Hedges as my third catcher.
I agree with you. If you went to Austin Hedges and you said, "You're the bullpen catcher for Team USA," would he say yes? I don't think so. I think in 3 years, maybe.
So it's interesting too, right?
It's a very insulting.
Yeah, because Austin Hedges still legitimately thinks he's going to play Major League Baseball for another 5+ years,
which he may.
So that's why I want to have him on as a third catcher. I don't know what he'll be a free agent at this time. Maybe the Guardians bring him back again, but I had to go Hedges here. I think this is where I'm going off the board. But I'm glad you had the same thought.
In these games where in late innings and close games, there are stolen base attempts, a lot of the other countries are going to run a lot. Having Patrick Bailey bat there as a late inning defensive replacement, you bring him in the 8th, and no one's going to run on him because he's the best throwing catcher in baseball. The other guy I really did think about was Will Smith.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a fine pick.
Would have been fine.
We were going to pick Cal and Adley. Sorry. I think they're at this point probably just as good and pretty similar. So,
first base, I have 2 of them.
Okay. Oh, so you wanted... All right. So,
yes.
That's fine. Got it.
I have 2 people who I would identify as a first baseman.
Yep.
Their names are Bryce Harper and Peter Alonso.
Right there with you.
Great.
I am in sync. No further notes. I would start Bryce Harper for defensive purposes. Matt Olson, a tough cut, would be a
Freddie
great pick.
Freeman.
Freddie
Freeman cut for me.
Tougher cut. I know some Canadian lineage. Feels like he'd probably play for Team USA, but either way, I'm still fine. I mean, maybe that's nuts and Freddie's the obvious pick, but I'm fine going Bryce and Pete here.
I would like to formally apologize to the nation of Canada.
Yeah.
Freddie Freeman played for them in the 2023 WBC.
He did play for them. I was going to say.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not. This is not part of a trade war. I don't want you to be the 51st state. That was an error. Yeah, I regret it. Okay.
Yes. I knew he had at least talked about playing. And forgive me for forgetting that he did play for them. But anyway, okay. So that's why I didn't consider him too seriously. Matt Olson is a tougher cut from a defensive standpoint, but I'm good going Bryce and Pete. We're on the same page.
I have one player who I am identifying as a second baseman.
All right.
And who is that? Is Marcus Lynn Betts, known as Mookie.
Yes. I am also doing the same. This was tough for me. I'm good. I'm good with this. Great. We will see how this roster evolves, but I am in the same position. We discussed whether we'd have Mookie in the outfield or in the infield. I am good having Mookie at second base.
I have one player. I have one and a half players that I'm identifying as shortstops.
Okay. Interesting. I have 2.
I'll say I have 2. I'll say 2. Bobby Witt Jr. and Gunnar Henderson.
You have Bobby Witt and Gunnar Henderson, you said?
Yes.
I have Bobby Witt and Corey Seager.
Okay.
My thinking of Gunnar was a very, very tough cut.
He was a 9-win player.
Super tough cut. I decided to go with Corey Seager basically entirely on I've seen him do cool stuff in big moments many times.
Totally
many times. And so even if he's probably not starting over Bobby Witt, I'm going to have him on my team over Gunnar.
Now, I am going to
and I still,
Gunnar as my starting third baseman, just so you know.
Okay.
He's playing third for my team next to Bobby Witt Jr. Now, I understand that's tough and positional or whatever. He hasn't played a lot over there, but he can. We know he can. It won't be that hard to do. I don't think that's like putting,
I know.
in center field.
I originally had that, and then I was starting to worry about the defense. And so I have Matt Chapman as my third baseman. I will just tell you.
Great. So for third base, I have Alex Bregman as my third baseman.
Yes. And Bregman I have one more infielder, and Bregman is my last infielder.
Okay.
And I thought about having Bregman at second. I was like, fine, you don't want to play for the Red Sox? I have Bregman at second because I want Bregman on this team. But I'm going to go Chapman. I am going to lean defense a little bit. So Gunnar over Chapman was tough. That I very closely debated. And that one, or Gunnar over Bregman, totally reasonable. But we're mostly in sync there. So my 7 infielders,
just quickly,
clear,
the one other player that was actually a very tough cut for me, and who I think will 100% be on the team is Trey Turner, just because he was the best player last time. I think his speed is an asset here. I would be floored if he's not on the if he's healthy and not on the roster. Also, because he got paid already. Like, there's no financial risk here. If he's not on the roster, I'll be shocked. He's not on my dream team right now.
That's fine. I agree. The one other player to mention in the Matt Olson mold is Marcus Semien. Marcus Semien also considered as a second baseman. Obviously off to a terrible start this year. I totally get it. But he seems like someone that they would put on the team, and I totally would get it, and I would have no problem with that.
My single toughest cut, though, was Austin Riley, who I heavily considered literally at starting at third base and benching Gunnar Henderson. Like, Austin Riley just has been on fire the last 2 weeks, which is why that influenced my thought process. I think he definitely deserves a mention, and I think he will end up being on the team.
My 7 infielders: Bryce Harper, Pete Alonso, Mookie Betts, Bobby Witt Jr., Matt Chapman, Corey Seager, Alex Bregman. Gunnar Henderson is the toughest cut for me.
My infielders: Bryce Harper, Mookie Betts, Bobby Witt Jr., Gunnar Henderson, Pete Alonso, Alex Bregman. So I have 6 players that I would define as infielders. Okay. 6.
Oh, 6. Okay.
I have 6.
I went with 7. Yeah. Again, I might have regretted this because I only have 5 spots for outfielders now, and or I guess I could just add another outfielder and take a pitcher off.
Well, Jordan, some guys, and let's just get into this right now. Some guys can play the outfield and the infield.
Yeah.
And that is why one Mr. Tommy Edman is on my roster as a utility man.
Tommy Edman, who played for Team Korea last time. What are we taking him back?
Yes. He's
okay.
I know that's like a tough look.
I obviously was like, oh, well, Tommy Edman, we got to have Tommy Edman. And I was like, well, why would Team Korea let us have him back? That seems crazy.
That's not their call. That's Tommy Edman's call.
That's fine. All right. I get it. It is Tommy Edman's call. You'll have to do some convincing. That's okay. I don't know if this works because this isn't in soccer. You can't change.
In soccer, you can't change. Jordan, this is the dream team.
That's fine. That's
Tommy Edman on my roster as utility man. Let's just count him as the 7th infielder.
Might as well have to take Freddie Freeman too. I mean, geez. But okay, that's fine. That's all right. All right. So then I have 5 more. Okay, but let's do the outfield then.
Great.
So you have Tommy
5 outfielders. 5 outfielders. After each of Aaron Judge on the team.
Yeah, I'd say
we know that. Okay. Mike Trout.
Yep.
Kyle Tucker.
Yep.
Corbin Carroll.
Yep. Those are my 4 locks, and then
Lockety.
Then I'm having a tough time because this is my last spot. I'll stick with the number of pitchers that I had. So I could pick 2 of these, but I'll just pick one of them. I had 1, 2, 3, 4 names down. 3 names down is serious consideration, and I'm leaning towards 1.
Okay. I am now just realizing that I have someone on here as DH.
Okay.
Do you?
Which is fine.
That's where my extra spot is on my position player list. I'll finish.
That's fine. I imagine that is Mr. Kyle Schwarber.
That is Mr. Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber was on the team last time, and he's listed as a DH for me.
Yeah. So I'm taking Schwarber here too.
Okay.
I'm a little worried about my outfield defense, which made me think should I just throw Brenton Doyle on as a defensive replacement in the Patrick Bailey mode? I thought about that in the infield with Bryce Terang, by the way.
Yes, I did too.
That would be an option. And then the other main guy left out here, if I'm picking Schwarber as my fifth outfielder, is Jackson Merrill.
Jackson Merrill.
That is a tough cut, especially knowing that we don't really have a center fielder.
Well, you don't.
So who's playing? Oh, what? Tommy Edman? Okay, sure.
No. Well, yes,
right.
but no.
Yeah. Okay. Who's
my
playing
five
center
outfielders?
Yeah.
Corbin Carroll's my center fielder, which is not ideal, but he played half the year there last year.
Yeah, it's fine.
I think it was 83 games. My starting trio would be Carroll in center, and then Trout and Judge in the corners with Schwarber DH.
Yep.
Tucker with the lefty bat off the bench. But my last roster spot does go to Pete Crow Armstrong.
Yeah, I had him on here too in the Doyle Michael Harris bucket. Yep.
He is the Bobby Witt Jr. of this team. Obviously, he's not that good. PCA, all due respect. He's not that good. That's okay. He is the most dynamic base runner of baseball and a top 3 outfield defender who brings energy. He should not get a plate appearance.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But I think he is immensely valuable to have on the roster. And he's my last position player. So I have 16 guys. Again, just to review, my outfielders: Kyle Tucker, Mike Trout, Corbin Carroll, Aaron Judge, Pete Crow Armstrong, Kyle Schwarber. If you Kyle Schwarber should not play an inning in the outfield, and Pete Crow Armstrong should not get a single at bat.
All right. I'm with you. I'll add PCA as my actually no, I want to do more pitchers. So I got my 15 position players.
Let's talk pitching. Here's the deal. The best pitchers will not do this. They never do. It's never the case. Yeah. Pitching is too much of an injury risk. The guys who will agree to do this will all be players that have already gotten paid, almost certainly, or players that are with a more durable reputation. What?
It's still, the team still could tell them no, whether they got paid or not. I mean, the teams are still,
but I think if I'm, so here we go. Tarik Skubal. Tarik Skubal is on my list. He's on your list. He'd be on anybody's dream list.
Yep.
I would not do it if I was Tarik Skubal when you're going to be a free agent after 2026 and
of course.
Demand a big contract. 100%. I think that's totally defendable. You still got to be on our list.
Right. So I have 15 pitchers. If we get 6 of these, I'll be like, hell yeah, we crushed it. So anyway, so we did 6 starters.
Yep.
I have 9 relievers. You have 8, which is fine because I have 8 locks. So that works out. Let's do I have 5 locks in the rotation and then a list of a bunch for 6.
I agree. Here are my locks. Skubal.
Yep.
Paul Skeens.
Yep.
Garrett Crochet.
Yep.
Zach Wheeler.
Yep.
Hunter Green.
Yep. Boom. All right. So 5 for 5 on our locks. I have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pitchers as candidates for the 6th spot. I'm just going to do it again. Keep my bias in check. Give me Logan Gilbert. I don't care.
Sure.
He'll be my pick. There's again.
Give me the other names. Give me your other names.
Here are my other names: Corbin Burns, Michael King, Logan Webb, Cole Reagans, Dylan Cease, and then the ultimate wild card, which is not looking so good so far, Jacob deGrom. Those are my pitchers as candidates. But I think I'd go Gilbert or Logan Webb. One of the Logans. Sorry, Corbin Burns.
Do you think you named my 6th guy? You did not.
I did not. Okay, let's see. Who could I be missing? I mean, okay, I didn't say Blake Snell.
Here's a hint.
I didn't say Tyler Glasnow. I didn't say Seth Lugo.
Nope.
I didn't say Chris Sale.
Nope. Jordan, how did you go about looking at what pitchers to pick?
Max Fried? Aaron Nola?
Answer my freaking question.
How
you haven't said their name. How'd you look? How were you what was your method?
I was, just very straightforward, sorting by strikeouts and WAR over the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And my 6th guy would not meet the innings minimum because I'm taking Spencer Strider. Frickin' duh.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Hey, we'll have a bit. I'll feel better about that in a few hours. Spencer Strider pitching later today. We'll see. I'm not going to take the 2 surgeries. We'll see, but that's totally fine. You're right. I very early in this process, I was like throwing names down. Then I was like, wait, Skeens, for the same reason you're describing, because I was going back to 2022. So that's fine. Yeah, but he was your 6. He was not in your locks for the 5.
No.
Like, did you have to think about it, or it seems like you were 6 locks?
I really wanted to put Seth Lugo on there just because I think it's funny. And he's a great. I think Seth Lugo is the most likely to do it. I think if I had to make an irrational prediction right now for who starts game 1 of the WBC for USA, it will be Seth Lugo.
The other great thing about Lugo is he's the best version of the Cardinals archetype.
Exactly.
So I'd way rather have him than all the guys we threw last time. But, I'd also still rather have Scooble and all these other guys that throw hard. Anyway, bullpen. So anyway, okay, that's fine. I'm good. You're right.
Sure.
I forgot Strider. I apologize. I wouldn't have if we did this exercise tomorrow.
Very true. We're in 4
I have
hours.
9 relievers, 8 locks. So this will be interesting where we fall here.
Okay. I have 8 relievers because I have Picard Armstrong.
That's fine.
Or Tommy Edman in that spot. I have 5 righties and 3 lefties. Part of my bullpen construction here is looking ahead a little bit. Okay. And here are who I think the locks are.
All right.
Okay. I think the people that you were referring to as locks, you said there's 7 locks.
I mean, for me, locks are hard with relievers, but I have 7 and then an 8th spot that I'm between a bunch. So go ahead.
I think there are 5 locks for relievers.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I think
Hoffman,
that's about right. Yep.
Who's the best reliever in the world?
Yep.
Ryan Helsley.
Yep.
Cheddar cheese. Devin Williams.
Nope.
No. Okay, because that tells me you've not watched him the last 2 days. He's looked a lot.
Last 2 days. That's true. I've watched him the last 20 days. So.
Okay. Looked a lot better recently.
I'm sure.
Last couple of days.
That's fine.
You don't think he's a lock? He was on the team last time.
I know. It's fine.
Okay.
He's in the mix.
He's a lock for me.
He's in my mix.
Josh Hader.
Yep.
Tanner Scott.
Yep.
I think that you think Mason Miller is a lock. He is on my team.
Yep.
My last 2 spots are Kirby Yates.
He is in my mix. I did not have him as a lock.
And Mason Montgomery.
Oh, Mason Montgomery. Damn, I should have thought of him. That's on me. Montgomery's a great pick.
He's a left-hander who throws 101.
That's pretty good. Pretty awesome. I got no problem with that. Hopefully he's healthy in a year.
So again, righties, Hoffman, Helsley, Yates, Williams, Miller, Montgomery, Hader, Scott. The reason I went with Yates is I just think it's a completely different look. I think most of these relievers, it's a little similar to Devin Williams. I understand that in a way. But I think most relievers are just throwing gasoline. And I want to bring in a guy who's just doing something different. He's zagging.
Okay. And to that point, that is why I considered Tyler Rogers. Now, I did not put him on. I am going to give Devin Williams that 8th spot. But Tyler Rogers, maybe he should be on over the 3 other names who you have not named that I would love to have on my team. That's Ryan Walker, who is
great pick.
Also funky and really good. That's Griffin Jax, who, having pitched at Air Force, let's get this guy on Team USA. I mean, let's go. Him and Paul
He could do the flyover and then come in the game after.
There you go.
He lands
him and
the
Paul,
plane.
and he's also fantastic.
Can you imagine the other one just from Skeens and Griffin Jax doing the flyover before the WBC? That's it's like when I saw Top Gun Maverick and it was like, man, this is
coolest thing I've ever seen.
Military-industrial complex propaganda, but I am buying it. And that's how I feel.
And then the last one, I considered Jason Adam, who was on the team last time and is still very good. I considered Matt Strom, who is very good, another lefty. But I'm going Tyler Holton, Mr. 1 MVP vote. I like Tyler Holton just because we can use him whenever. If one of our starters wakes up and is like, just kidding, this is a bad idea, and we need Tyler Holton to start on 20 minutes notice, I feel good about him. So he was my last pick. Also a lefty, also versatile. So again, we're mostly in line. I think you're probably right. I think Devin Williams does deserve to be a lock. I don't know. I can't. I can't have my guy walking 3 players against Japan in the gold medal game. It's not with Ohtani coming up. It's not going to make me feel good.
Okay. I get that.
I know some of the other relievers will walk the house as well. I recognize that. But,
getting a reliever who like doesn't walk anybody.
That's a short list.
To pitch against
short list.
No, but like to pitch against the worst teams in pool play.
Yeah.
Because in pool play, you don't need, respectfully, Mason Montgomery coming in and throwing 101 for the left side. Like,
it's true.
We can, respectfully, get Great Britain out throwing 92 and locating down the corners.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Tyler Holton CG. I mean, let's go. Anyway.
So, like,
this is good. This is good. It's good.
I enjoyed this, man.
We were at what, like 90% overlap, and we will see how many of these players end up on the team.
Reliever with the lowest walk rate in baseball last year. Do you know who it was?
Reliever with the lowest walk rate in baseball. Ooh, I think it was Clase. Tyler
frickin' Rogers. Put him on.
There you go. All right, never mind. He's on the team over Devin Williams. Forget that. Here's my final pick. We didn't have to recap our whole teams, but that was very fun. Let us know. Any wild omissions? Let us know. baseballbarbacast@gmail.com.
Next episode, we'll do Team Columbia. All right.
Harold Ramirez. Okay. We're coming up here. We have a very special guest. His name is Kyle Smeallie. He is the organizer behind the Hooligans, the Jung-Hoo Lee cheering section. We had this conversation with him earlier this week. It was delightful. We didn't necessarily dig in too hard on some of the specifics of how it came about, but we ended up having kind of a broader conversation about why this group kind of has resonated so much with not just Giants fans, but with us and, in general. So I think Kyle was great, and we hopefully you enjoyed this conversation with Kyle Smeallie. We'll be right back on Baseball Barbacast. And welcome back to Baseball Barbacast. What a treat we have for you, fine audience, today. We asked and you answered. Last week, we discussed the heroic efforts of the Lee Gans, Jung-Hoo Lee's newest, latest, and greatest cheering section. And it took a mere couple of days for us to find and be connected with the creator himself, Kyle Smeallie. Welcome to Baseball Barbacast. Kyle is here. He is dressed for the occasion. Kyle, first of all, thank you for joining us. Second of all, thank you for everything that you have done. And third, who are you and how did this begin?
What's up, everybody? Thanks so much for having me on the pod. My name is Kyle Smeallie. I'm the lead organizer for the Hooligans. We are a group of fans that are super excited to celebrate our superstar center fielder, Jung-Hoo Lee. And yeah, we went to the game on Monday. We had 50 people plus 2 babies, all in matching shirts, matching wigs. And we were like, it would be cool to get on the Jumbotron once. That was like our goal, and we did. Here you are, for sure. And then this thing is just kind of blown up from here, and super excited to see where it goes.
So the Hooligans, as I said to you before we recorded, is an unequivocal good, and that is a beautiful, heartwarming thing. We most wanted to have you on to recount the moment of ideation, because while the energy and the wigs and the outfits are all good, none of this, as I'm sure you know, would hit as hard without the absolute banger of a name that is Lee Gans. Walk me through the moment that this delightful pun dawned on you.
Yeah, so this actually started at Oracle Park last year. A group of us were at the game, and we were just kind of bullshitting around with like player names and puns, and somebody was like Jung-Hoo Lee, and then another person was like, hey, like the soccer thing, like hooligans? Oh, hooligans, like this is a thing. What a great idea. And we were all stoked on it. But then he got hurt, right? We were going to do it last year, and then he got hurt for the season. So the idea was kind of like in the back of my mind. And then fast forward to this season, he's back. And a friend of mine who works for a nonprofit called the San Francisco Safe House. They advocate for victims of domestic violence. They're supported by the San Francisco Giants. The Giants give them like free tickets in recognition of their charitable work. And he's like, hey, dude, I got 50 free tickets to this game. And I was like, I got this idea. And if all of us are like matching, this is going to be incredible. And at the time, I was just thinking of doing shirts, but I was like, shirts have been done, right? I mean, it's cool, but like, how do we go bigger with this? And I was like, let's get the fire wigs, man. Let's make this incredible visual. And so I spent like a month and a half organizing people, just like, can you commit to this game? What is your t-shirt size? Like, are you down for this? And luckily, like, it didn't take a lot of effort. People were like, yes, this sounds awesome. And so, yeah, it all kind of came together naturally. I do think like part of why this has resonated so much is like just looking at what has happened over the past year. Like things are heavy for
Yeah.
me, for a lot of people. Things feel really dark. I know that people are feeling lonely, isolated, hopeless, and I do think like part of this effort is just to create joy, just to have some irreverent joy and like be together, build community around something and somebody we love, like Jung-Hoo Lee. And for me personally, I play in a baseball league. I played for 13 seasons in the Pacific Coast Hardball League. I play center field, so like natural fit. Like the way Jung-Hoo Lee plays is the way I want to play. Like he plays with joy and speed and light, and I'm a huge fan of his. So I was like, all this is kind of coming together, and yeah, when we got to the game on Monday, like we got on the Jumbotron early on. I heard like getting all these texts. He's like, "Oh, you're on the broadcast. This is cool." And then I got interviewed in the stands by 95.7 The Game, and it just kind of dawned on me. I was like, "This thing is gonna take off." And then what's been kind of amazing about it is the response, not just in San Francisco, but like in Korea. Like the Korean fans love it. And I've been like getting DMs, getting people signed up in Korea, being like, I want to be a part of this. It's so exciting. We love that you see our player is amazing and being embraced in your country. And like, that's just been really cool. So all this is just love, man. It's been amazing.
And that's what's such a serendipitous part of this is Korean baseball and the KBO, as many of us learned during the pandemic, the shutdown when KBO was on TV all the time. So much of KBO is about these cheering sections that I would say to American fans feel like theatrical or over the top in a way that is not as commonplace in our sporting culture. But what you guys have done fits so perfectly within that mold. And so it doesn't particularly shock me that it is caught on over there to such a degree.
It's amazing what they do in like, I don't know why we don't do more of it, right? It's so much fun to like all be together and matching and all that stuff.
But at the same time, I think what you've managed to accomplish is a perfect version of that, because we do often talk about the different environments of baseball, whether it is in Asia, whether it is in, Caribbean winter leagues, where it's like, oh, why can't we have that for MLB? And the reality is like, that is its own thing for a reason. It is much more natural. It is much more pure. It is born out of a genuine love. And like, we can't expect that to exist at all 162 Major League Baseball games during a regular season. But what you have achieved with this cheering section, with the perfect attachment with the player, which also, as I'm sure you can admit, coinciding with just this week that he then has thus had, and not to say that he isn't going to go on and have this great season, but listen, we know, having attached ourselves to a baseball player as part of like things are good when the guy's hitting home runs, right? We understand that could certainly benefit. But I guess my last question to you mainly is like, one, we are intrigued by also the fact that he did already have the more institutionally backed cheering section, the Jung-Hoo crew, which I understand that there's no reason for you to be opposed to those. So
no beef, right? No beef.
How do you? What's the status of that relationship? Is this? Can you guys be teaming up to really max out the Jung-Hoo support? How do you kind of see that moving forward?
It's all love, man. I think it's great to have something from the team. What we're creating is from the fans, right? This is sort of an organic thing that maybe it looks and feels a bit different, but absolutely we can coexist. And I'd love to continue to grow this and just figure out how these two things can fit together.
Yeah, I'm also not surprised. Again, Jake mentions and what you said, the response in Korea. I know we've had Ha-Sung Kim recently. We've had a couple other Korean stars. Shin-Soo Choo was, of course, the most accomplished from a position player side. But Jung-Hoo Lee's a huge deal, right? Like, and for the level of pride that of course, we've spent so much time talking about, this wave of Japanese players, and not that is not happening. But Jung-Hoo Lee is a really, really big deal for this country, for how good he was, for his lineage, for the family that he comes from, and what his family means to Korean baseball. It's not surprising. And the contract that he got, right? Like, it's a massive investment for the Giants. I have to imagine that also plays into the degree to which he's been kind of celebrated in that way. And I have to imagine you've gotten that feedback as well.
Oh, totally. I actually got interviewed by a Korean broadcaster who was like, I knew his father very well, I knew his family, and like just like the degree of like the meaning of this player to the people in Korea is incredible. And to your point, also, like, the guy's playing lights out right now, and the Giants are playing like all these things coming together to make this thing just blowing up. It's been really fun.
And this is another good place, because I know this is something that when Jake and I have talked about the Giants in recent years and in our various iterations of the podcast, since 2021, this has not been a fun team to watch, really, at any point. They haven't been that bad, but there has been very little on this team where we're like, I got to tune into the Giants. And now he is that. Like, he is absolutely that kind of player, and that's what makes me sad. I mean, I'm assuming you're a lifelong Giants fan. I could be wrong. I don't know what your background is, but I have to imagine,
honestly, respectfully, it'd be funnier if you were like a diehard Dodgers fan living in San Fran, and then like you saw Jung-Hoo play, and you're like, I'm
a convert. Yeah, right. But. Well, I'm just curious. Like, that's our outsider's perspective as someone who talks about the whole league. But I imagine that there's probably not that you haven't enjoyed players on the Giants over the last few years that aren't Jung-Hoo Lee, but it feels like he's kind of reinvigorated it in a sense as well.
100%. Yeah, I mean, like, this team is fun to watch. Like, they look like they're enjoying themselves, and I think that's like partly why they're overachieving. They seem to have really gelled, and like, I'm reminded of the teams in the dynasty era of like with Panda and Wilson, and like, these guys were characters, right? Hunter Pence, like, it was fun to watch them. They played with joy, and I think like you see it's like a two-way conversation. The fans start to love it more. That builds the team, and they just start to play better. But this squad is special, and I think Jung-Hoo Lee is part of the glue of that.
So I have no further questions. I just want to thank you. Like, you have created something that is good, and it's cool, and it brings joy, and it gives people a reason to get up in the morning and smile. And like, that rules, dude. That rules.
Thanks, man. Thank you. It feels like it's necessary in this moment, and I hope this continues to grow.
Love it.
Amen to that. Kyle Smeallie, thank you for all that you're doing. Good luck in wherever the hooligans go from here. We're obviously big supporters. And also, I mean, I know the 51 number seems pretty important, but I understand that there's ways for people to get involved.
There's definitely ways to get involved. We're trying to figure out where this goes from here. A week ago, this like didn't exist, and now it's like a thing that I'm trying to figure out like where we go. So we have a website, sfhooligans.com. You can sign up for updates. When we figure out where the next step is, we'll be in touch with folks who have signed up there. So that's where it's at. I am in conversations with the team as to like what it might look like to work together on this. So I'm excited for that. And yeah, just go Giants. One last thing I want to shout out.
I was going to say, anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, one of the original people who have been like an OG Jung-Hoo Lee fan, and part of who's helped me organize this is a writer named Bunny McFadden. She broke the story before this all happened on brokeassstewart.com. It's a independent news website in San Francisco. So just want to shout out the person who broke this.
That's awesome.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, we are certainly, I don't know. Hey, Giants, go to the playoffs, go to the World Series. I don't know what it's going to take to get us to go out to San Francisco this year. We would love to make it happen. We would love to go get those T-shirts and wigs and throw our journalistic standards in the trash for one day and cheer on one player with all of our heart. Maybe that will happen, maybe not, but we support all that you're doing out there in San Francisco, Kyle. So thank you so much for joining us. And
you guys get out here,
man.
I got a wig and a shirt with your name on it.
Noted.
Awesome.
Thank you,
guys.
Kyle. We'll be right back on Baseball Barbacast.
And welcome back to Baseball Barbacast. A little bit more Jung-Hoo Lee content before we get out of here.
Yes, we got this email last night. This was after we talked to Kyle, but I just love this, and it kind of speaks to some of the themes we were kind of getting at with Kyle. This is from Justin. He said, hey, guys, just want to say I love the Believer segment last week. I did too. I got a lot of good feedback on our belief scale, including we also got an email from a religious studies professor, which is exactly what we asked for. Maybe we'll read that in the future when we run that segment back. Anyway, Justin continues. As an Asian American Giants fan, watching Jung-Hoo Lee ascend has been just about the coolest thing I've seen in my Giants fandom from a player fandom perspective. Obviously, Buster and Timmy and Kane and Belt were great, but this feels like another level of fandom. Maybe because he looks like a K-pop star. I don't know. I'm already a zealot. Good callback. Anyway, seeing him rip an RBI single off a 100-mile-per-hour sinker on the inside corner on the 3-2 pitch from Jose Alvarado today really cemented to me that he has the goods. Just an absolute masterpiece. I know it wasn't a home run or anything particularly flashy, but man, this guy knows how to barrel him up, even off the toughest pitches. Just needed fellow ball knowers to appreciate how special that at bat was, even in the loss. Yes, Justin, Jake messaged me the exact same thing as soon as Jung-Hoo Lee did that against the Phillies, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned it on the show. And yeah, dude is unfazed. He looks like a star, and I can't wait awesome. for just to keep watching him. As we talked about with Kyle, like that's a reason to turn on the Giants. We have not had a lot of those recently.
A baseball category I love is thing on television that makes me say something out loud when I'm alone. And yesterday, got home from the yard, ate dinner, poured myself a glass of rye. Shouts out Hudson Valley, Hudson whiskey, free ads. And Jung-Hoo Lee rolls me through the right side. And I just go, wow.
Damn.
Wow.
Not
and
easy.
I looked around and remembered I was alone.
Because again, it's like, you ain't seeing Jose Alvarado in Korea. That's just not something. It's not. You're not seeing that on the 25 major league teams. I mean,
you're not seeing 94 from the left side over there.
Anyway, all right. You have a little bit of trivia before we get out of here, and then we'll hit a couple news notes. But what you got?
So, I was reading an article yesterday about baseball.
Love baseball,
and it was on MLB.com. I don't want to tell you who wrote it because it'll kind of give the thing. It'll give the bit away here. But here was the crux of it. One team in baseball. There was one team. Okay, and this is related to what I will define as the end of extension season. Okay, Vladdy, I think, ended extension season with the most extension ever extension.
Not gonna go bigger than that. Yeah.
There is one team since 2019, that has not given out an extension of at least 3 years, 3 or more. Okay.
Wow.
One team. Now I have this list in front of me, which I compiled this morning because I'm a freak.
This is great.
Of all 131 players to receive an extension of at least 3 years since 2019. I'm not going to have you list all 131 players.
No.
Would be a banger of a Sporkle quiz that maybe I'll make for you for your birthday. Okay.
Please do.
But my first question is, who is the only team in baseball to not sign a player to an extension of at least 3 years since 2019? There's one team. And this is mentioned by the beat writer for this team in an article on MLB.com, who I will credit with this great nugget in a moment.
Man, this is so 2019 on one hand is like, oh, that's not that long ago.
It's way longer than you think.
But it's a long time ago. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is a great question. And like, I don't really know how I'm going. I mean, I'm obviously just running through
all the teams.
I can come up with extensions here, extensions there.
Sure. There are more extensions than you think generally. Like there's a lot of buying out a couple RBers.
Because 3 years is not necessarily getting to free agency. And so that's
like Cole Reagans is on this list. They just bought out some RBers, right?
All right.
Like,
all right. So let's just go some extreme ends of the spectrum here. Let's go White Sox.
Bad guess. And it's a bad guess because the White Sox were good when this happened. They, in fact, have signed 5 players.
5, all right.
Robert, Eloy, Aaron Bummer, Moncada, Jose Abreu.
That one I was leaning on because of knowing that like the Benintendi number was like the franchise record for highest
Sure.
amount, and so I was thinking like lower amounts, but that's
Sure.
still a bad guess. The Yankees?
The Yankees is a great guess.
Right?
Sneaky great
When was the
guess.
Aaron Hicks extension? Was that
2019. They have three.
man.
They have three.
Okay.
Hicks,
Yeah.
Severino, and
I
Aroldis.
don't remember that at all. Okay, now again, this is the difference between extension versus re-signing, right?
It's like DJ LeMahieu doesn't count. 'Cause
Right.
Chris Taylor doesn't count for the Dodgers. He
Totally.
reached free agency.
Thank you. Okay, that's what I figured. I'm just making sure. All right, I'll just do a couple more guesses because I don't know. Cincinnati. No, Hunter Green. That's a bad guess. Miami.
Good guess, but a bad guess. One player,
Sandy. That's just one though. That's the only one.
just one.
Okay. I won't drag this out too much longer. I'm very
Give me
excited to find
Two
out
more
the answer.
guesses.
The Baltimore Orioles.
The Baltimore Orioles is correct.
Yes.
out
the
to Jake
Baltimore
Rill,
Orioles. Yes.
Who dropped this fuego fact in there. Now, I have a list of literally every extension, including 1-year extensions, which are like a total joke. And the only extensions they've given out were to John Means and Felix Bautista after they blew out. And it was like, we'll give you a 2-year deal. One will be for rehab. The other one.
Yeah.
The Baltimore Orioles have not signed a player to an extension of at least 3 seasons since 2019.
Oh boy. And now it's like, this is the team everyone's looking at to sign some extensions. Now that's not their number one concern right now. Like if they sign Gunnar Henderson to a $300 million extension tomorrow, that's awesome. Your rotation still stinks.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited.
Kind of the same thing with the Mariners with some of their extensions. It's like awesome. Julio, fantastic. Cal Raleigh, amazing. Can't score runs. So who cares? So Orioles, same bad.
I'm excited to send you this spreadsheet to sift through.
Yes, please do.
Because I know you love that. Before we do that and before we get out of here, any guesses who is at the top? Who else is there are 4 teams have only one besides Miami.
Tell me who those are.
The Tigers have just one.
Yep.
And that was Colt Keith. The Nats have just one. That was K-Bear. The Rangers have just one, which I found surprising. And that was Jose Leclerc in 2019.
Okay. So that I never would have. That's wild. Okay.
Like it's so interesting, right? Because the Rangers won the World Series. They've spent a lot of money. They just haven't extended any of the players that they already have there. Now, look, if they had given Nathan Eovaldi the deal they gave him in free agency 3 months earlier, it would be on this list, right? And that's why this is a little wonky. At the top end,
Atlanta?
Any guess? Atlanta, yeah. Atlanta has 10.
Yeah.
Other teams, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 3 teams with 7 and 3 teams with 8.
I mean, the Mariners have done a few, but I don't think it's
so. The Mariners have done 8.
Oh wow! Okay,
Mariners
They got Munoz, Castillo, Raleigh, Julio,
Crawford.
Yep.
Dylan Moore.
Yep. Dylan Moore.
Evan
White
yesterday.
And who's
Evan White?
Oh,
Evan White.
Oh my gosh!
So the Mariners have done 8.
Yeah, those count though. Yep.
Those 2 count. The Sox, the Red Sox have done 8.
Okay.
And most interestingly to me, the Rockies. The Colorado Rockies.
They've done right. We got Tovar. We got
This is a crazy list. Tovar, McMahon, Senzatella, Freeland, Marquez, Scott Oberg, Tyler Kinley, and Elias Diaz. The Rockies keep their people around, dude.
That's the problem. All right. I'm happy for those players, though. Get paid. Some of those guys are really good players. All right. Just a couple other notes before we say goodbye. Petco perfection is over. The Cubs win in extra innings on Tuesday. Sorry, I know that must have broke your heart, Jake. I know you want the Padres to go 81-0 at home, but that is not going to happen. The Cubs win on the same day that they send Matt Shaw down to the minor leagues. We'll probably have a bigger conversation about this as the Cubs lineup evolves. I'm just intrigued by this because it's like, okay, Matt Shaw was not hitting. He didn't look good. It's not like that was hurting the Cubs offense, right? The Cubs were scoring plenty of runs with Matt Shaw hitting 140. So clearly there must have been kind of some big picture reasons they wanted to send him down. I guess we'll see more Gage Workman and John Birdie at third base. And I guess Justin Turner will play some third base, which is probably not the best idea. Dodgers still perfect against the Rockies. Congratulations on that. Tyler Soderstrom hit 2 more home runs. He's up to 8. We have a billion dudes tied with 6 home runs. That home run race will be very interesting to watch as the season unfolds. And then the last note is that Alex Bregman went 5 for 5 on Tuesday and then was like, I won't be here tomorrow because I'm having my second child, which is badass. And also interesting because who will be playing third base for the Red Sox on Wednesday? Will it be Rafael Devers? Will it be not Rafael Devers because they maybe have confiscated his glove for the remainder of his very long contract? What do you think? Do you think Devers will play third base today?
No.
No, I don't think so either. But Alex Bregman, nice to see him have a big game like that.
Have you seen John Wick?
No, I haven't. Sorry.
Remedy that.
All right.
There's a scene, no spoilers, in John Wick where he used to be an assassin and he's pulled back into the life and all of his weaponry is underneath his basement floor covered in cement. Okay. And there's a scene where it's pouring rain and he walks down to the basement with like a big hammer and he just breaks the cement up to retrieve his old life, to take all the guns and the grenades and the John Wick accoutrement so that he can return to a life of assassinry. That's what I'm imagining with Rafi Devers. His gloves are buried under a layer of cement in the Red Sox in Fenway Park somewhere.
Yeah.
And he just goes in with a torpedo bat. And he's just breaking cement.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if it's Romy Gonzalez or David Hamilton, or maybe they will damn Christian Campbell. I don't know how much third base he's played. Anyway, that's it. We're done. There's a couple other things we can hit on, but we have some stuff from this week that will definitely appear in Good, Bad, Ugly. But until then, thank you all for listening. Thank you to Carter Singh for producing. Thank you to Kyle Smeallie for joining this episode of Baseball Barbecast. What a delight that was. You can email us at baseballbarbecast@gmail.com, and we will talk to you all on Friday.